Lagos, Nigeria. This is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. President Bola Tinubu orders review of ongoing military operations to eliminate terrorist groups across the country. Federal government targets January 1, 2026 for implementation of new tax reform laws signed by President Tinubu. Nepal Prime Minister resigns as demonstrators torch parliament amid violent protests sparked by alleged corruption and inequality.
In business, Nigeria's Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers suspends a nationwide strike following agreement with Dangote Refinery.
And in sports, Nigeria's hopes of qualifying for the 2026 FIFA World Cup are hanging in the balance after the Super Eagles played out a 1-1 draw with the Bafana Bafana of South Africa in Bloemfontein. Details and more later.
Thank you for tuning in. Tonight begins now. We'll begin tonight with national security matters. President Bola Tinubu has ordered a sweeping overhaul of military operations after deadly Boko Haram attack in Borno state left at least 63 people dead. While speaking on behalf of the president, Vice President Kashim Shettima expressed condolences to the victims' families, noting that the federal government will intensify security efforts. This includes deploying advanced military hardware and drones to combat terrorist threats nationwide. The Vice President also expressed confidence in the armed forces' capacity to overcome the security challenges facing the country, noting President Tinubu's approval for the acquisition of additional drones and his directive for all security agencies to intensify and review their operational strategies. To discuss this, we're joined by former spokesman for the Nigeria Air Force, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, retired. We also have Darlington Moru, security analyst from Lagos. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. I will start with you, Darlington, to just give us what specific changes do you think are necessary to improve the military's response to insurgency and terrorism, and how can these changes be implemented effectively?
Well, the challenge I have is that I said I won't be giving solutions on air anymore, because both the military and the enemies are watching. And then for each time you give solutions and what I think should be done and how they should be done, you discover that the enemies also listen, and then they run away to fortify their efforts and so on. But be that as it may, so far, I don't know, the Boko Haram and ISWAP, they have suddenly started regrouping, if you recall, since January last year. And between January last year and now, they created a lot of havoc, and particularly in the northeast, where, of course, they largely operate from. But as per solution, what we need at this point in time is area power. What the president called drones, that's talking about the unmanned area vehicles. We do not just need unmanned area vehicles that will be deployed to gather intel. What we need the most now is the combat unmanned area vehicles that can, aside from gathering artificial intelligence, that can also corroborate with the human intelligence on ground, and then take out this enemy. We need to go to them. We do not need for them to come out in their guerrilla warfare to exhibit their strength, on target areas, target towns, target villages, target clans, then we begin to react at the end of the day. A lot of intel gathering is required at this instance, and then the Air Force needs to increase its area bombardment once these areas are discovered, particularly when there are no kidnapped victims that could be used as shields, to cover up these enemies. So the moment the area bombardment is carried out, then the clearance of ground should be taken over by both the army and naval as a combined team of the military. I think that's the way we can begin to think of how to achieve all of this. Now we have talked about the unmanned area vehicles. We also need a lot of equipment, modern equipment, particularly with the use of the AI, that can help us, locate these enemies where they are, and then Air Force area bombardment, unmanned combat UAVs to be deployed.
All right. We still don't have Group Captain Sadiq Shehu. As soon as he joins us, we will introduce him to the conversation. But before we continue, Mr. Umaru, I wanted to take your thoughts on this repeat order by the president to the military to overhaul their security operations. Most times when we have, mass killings like we witnessed over the weekend, and then you have repeated cases of violence and citizens being harmed, it does not seem to translate to long-term solutions, because it seems before you know what is happening, the order is given again. What is missing? Is the president's order missing some technicalities, perhaps, that could have made things different? Or should he not be announcing this call to the military to overhaul the architecture every time?
To agree and start from the last statement you made. You see, the moment Mr. President makes some of these statements, it reduces before the enemies the strength of the Nigerian military arrangement. Like each time you talk about overhaul, it gives Boko Haram and ISWAP or the bandits the impression that the army is losing the battle. I do not expect Mr. President to keep reiterating this kind of statement. Rather, whether the military is having it not too right in certain areas, we need to also use propaganda as part of this war by, always putting out talks and stories that will give the enemies the impression that damages are happening in some other quarters, perhaps where they are not aware. So instill some measure of fear in their camps. But for each time Mr. President is talking about overhauling, changing this and changing this and calling this and calling for that, these are things that could be done in the boardroom, in the meeting, where all of them will gather. You sit and then you look at the chiefs in their faces and tell them, come on boys, we know you're doing well, but you need to do more. But these are not the kind of things which you continue to find in the press. Don't forget that these enemies talking about this criminal element, that they also read and they also have their intel department that helps them gather intelligence, and they also help them achieve their hit points.
Okay, so I'm curious as to your suggestion.
That Mr. President will talk about.
Yeah, Mr. Umaru, I'm curious as to your suggestion about the use of propaganda, but I will come to you to ask that subsequently. Let's just bring in Group Captain Shehu, retired, to give us his perspective on this renewed call to overhaul our security in the country and to address the situation in Borno State. What were your initial thoughts to the marching orders being given by the president in light of what has happened over the weekend? What happened, rather, over the weekend?
Thank you very much. First, I commiserate with the people of Borno State. Both civilians and military have lost their lives. But again, we must say honestly that not only in this government, even during the former government of Buhari, We have been seeing these marching orders, either from the president or from National Assembly, passing a vote of no confidence, or we have been hearing rebase the security architecture, and so on and so forth. But in all honesty, all these are just words because they are not being followed by action. And you spoke about short-term or long-term. Yes, it's very easy for the president to come and say after an attack.
Oh, all right. Group captains, we have to interject.
There is no.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I think that it's better a bit. Okay, I think we
not enough men, not enough equipment, because if you remember what the president, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Attack in area A, carry more troops or carry more equipment to area A. Where are you going to carry those equipment and troops? You are going to take them from area B, which also area B is having a problem. So tomorrow again, if there's attack on area B, you say carry from area C. So in all.
Unfortunately, we cannot continue with the audio from Group Captain. We really apologize for that hitch. Hopefully, we can continue with it. Subsequently, if there's an improvement. But for now, we'll stay with Mr. Umar. You expressed worry about, this order and the fact that it might embolden these terrorists and bandits who go about committing crime. You also talked about the use of propaganda. However you look at it, the media space is, everybody uses it for their purpose. The federal government saying these things, doesn't it have any positive impact in the psyche of the military, or should they employ another mechanism?
It does not give any advantage to the military. You can imagine the men in the field, the men at the theater, carrying out these operations against the enemy. And then you are telling them that they are not doing well. You are killing the morale. There's what is called upping the morale of. When you continue to say these things, some of them will get discouraged. What we need is enough equipment and welfare for these persons to be encouraged, for their morals to be boosted. Give them modern equipment. Give them modern equipment. Give them modern equipment. Equipment that will enable them to gather intel, equipment that will make them be able to stand in battle against this.
Mr. Moro, are you being quite fair when you say give them modern equipment? Are you saying, implying in some way that this administration or the federal government generally has not provided the army, the military, our security agencies with adequate equipment to do their jobs? If that is the case, why?
That is not what I'm implying. What I'm trying to tell you is that by the day, by the weeks, by the month, equipment are modernized. When it comes to warfare equipment, they are taking different shapes. We need to cope with the current equipment, modern equipment being chunked out by factories, particularly in those countries where they are manufactured. By that, we will be. Once upon a time, we hadn't anything like combat UAV. But today we have what is called combat UAVs. Once upon a time, we had Mach 4. Today we do not use Mach 4 to execute warfare anymore. They are outdated and have become obsolete. So we have to follow the trend and we have to go with the trend, whether you like it or not. Terrorists are in Nigeria, parties are in Nigeria, and we need to take them out. We need modern equipment for the airport. We need modern equipment for Navy.
Okay, I think you made your point there, Mr. Umar, that it's not about not having, but continuously upgrading as the need applies. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
My pleasure once again.
We also thank Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, retired, even though the network interrupted our conversation. Coming up still tonight, Senate stops Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan from resuming her legislative duties after 6 months of suspension. We have details of this story and more after now. You're watching Tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu orders review of ongoing military operations to eliminate terrorist groups across the country. Federal government targets January 1, 2026 for implementation of new tax reform laws. Nepal Prime Minister resigns as demonstrators torch parliament amid violent protest sparked by alleged corruption and inequality. Yet again, the National Assembly has barred Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan from resuming her legislative duties, maintaining that her suspension remains under legal review. Akpoti-Uduaghan, who represents Kogi Central, had formally informed the National Assembly on August 28 she intends to return on September the 4th, marking the end of her 6-month suspension. She referenced the Federal High Court ruling in July that declared her suspension excessive and unconstitutional and ordered her reinstatement. Despite this, the National Assembly insists the matter is still before the courts as appeals are ongoing. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan also called for immediate access to her office, emphasizing her constitutional right to resume full senatorial functions and the need to prepare for upcoming plenary sessions. To education now, the Nigerian Educational Research and Development Council has officially released the approved list of subjects for the revised basic and secondary school curriculum. This comes after excerpts of the curriculum circulated online without official confirmation. The new curriculum introduces core subjects broken down into specific modules. The new school curriculum has been approved with the following subject lists. For primaries 1 to 3, students will take subjects like English studies, mathematics, Nigerian languages, among others, totaling 9 to 10 subjects. In primaries 4 to 6, the subjects expand to include basic digital literacy, pre-vocational studies, and others, totaling 11 to 13 subjects. Junior secondary school students will take core subjects like English studies, mathematics, intermediate science, totaling 12 to 14 subjects. In senior secondary, students will take 5 core subjects, including English language, mathematics, and digital technologies, and choose from various streams like science, humanities, and business, among others. The federal government has set January the 1st, 2026, for the implementation of the new tax reform laws. Chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, announced the publication on social media on Monday. The laws include the Nigeria Tax Act, Nigeria Tax Administration Act, Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Act, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Act, all enacted in 2025. Key provisions include a 0% tax rate for small businesses with annual turnover under 100 million naira and fixed assets below 250 million naira. Also, the federal government has said there are no immediate plans to enforce the 5% fuel surcharge that has sparked criticism from labor unions and civil society groups. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, said in Abuja on Tuesday that the surcharge was an existing levy that dated back to the 2007 Federal Road Maintenance Agency FEMA Act, stressing it was not a fresh tax introduced by President Tinubu's government. Edu noted that it was used as a user charge to fund road upkeep, with 40% of proceeds allocated to the Federal Road Agency and 60% to state-level equivalents. For this conversation, I'm joined now by an economist, Femi Onakore, economist as well, as CEO Finance with Mokhtar Mohammed. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome you to the news tonight. Let me start with you, Mr. Onakonre. The federal government is insisting there is no immediate plans to implement the fuel tax, but that's merely postponing the evil day, which will surely come. Why is this tax justified in the first place? What do we need to know about it?
Okay, thank you. When we look at issues, we need to first divorce ourselves from the sentimental perspective. First off, as of 2007, there's an act of FEMA that stipulates that 5% should be deducted from the fuel usage in the country. In 2016, 2017, thereabouts, the Senate actually indicted the non-remittance of this particular tax. So it is not a new act. It is something that that should actually have been implemented and farmed up our entire process as a country. But to now highlight how important, right, and actually essential it is, let me highlight some points. Number one, this is a universal disposition among big economies, developing economies who also have fuel and crude oil and all that. So there's no exemption to Nigeria's implementation of such. Number two is the fact that we have a large infrastructure deficit. We have serious maintenance issues and a deficit in maintenance, compliance. FEMA and FRSC, they came up recently and they were talking about the deficit in the budget allocation. Some studies far back said that we need about 400 billion annually to maintain the roads. Now, if you look at the 5% tax and you say you take it from the nominal, perspective without due consideration for analysis, you would say, oh, this is an additional tax on people. However, if you juxtapose it with reality, which is, number one, we have about 11.8 million vehicles in Nigeria. Those are the registered ones of 2018, captured. Now, if you use that figure, 11.8 million or 12 million thereabout, and you look at, okay, so what do they spend money on in terms of car maintenance? You find out that on average, they do like 1.2 million per annum to 1.9 million per annum. Now, when you look at the average, and let's say we put it at 1.5, you see the actual spend that comes out of people's pocket, because it's not government expenses, is actually about in the trillions, about 118, right. If we flat it out, it's about 118 million. Now, when we understand that position, we say if this income tax is going to reduce the fuel tax is going to reduce spending that you will have to make on your vehicle in terms of maintenance, the road is bad, you have to buy new shocks, you have to buy fuel adjustment issues, you have potholes issues. If you can eliminate that, then there's actually a lot of benefit to the people because it reduces how much you actually spend maintaining your vehicle.
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Mokhtar and just... Okay, I understand we don't have Mr. Mokhtar yet, so I'll stay with you. The question is also from what you're saying. The agitation against the tax is not on its merit, but mostly about the timing of the taxing, considering the economic realities in the country. And that's why you have the Trade Union Congress and other groups coming up to say the federal government should reconsider bringing this tax in. They even described it as economic wickedness against an already overburdened population. So what is your thinking as an economist in the short and long term in consideration for the concerns of the people who are meant to be paying the tax?
Okay, very fine. Okay, so I can look at it from the position of tax, FX harmonization rather, or the subsidy removal. The fact is it is going to feel painful at the beginning, but it's just a feeling, right? You talk about the substance of a policy, and the substance of a policy is not about the immediate gain. It is the long-term effect, right? The medium-term transition of, what it provides for the economy. So people who are saying, oh, this tax is so insignificant that you would not feel it in the pricing of transportation.
But that is
However,
not the
you would feel
impression
it
we get from the analysis we see on papers. Let's bring in, I'll come back to you, sir. Let's bring in Mr. Mokhtar Mohammed. I don't know if you followed our conversation so far. Thank you for being here, by the way. The concerns about the tax that I just asked Mr. Nakare, it's not really about its merit. But the people, I believe, are more concerned about how it is going to affect an already overburdened population. So from an economist perspective, what would be a middle ground in this conversation? Should they take the shocks, as we talked about the fuel subsidy removal and all of that, we grind our teeth and we take it? Or is there something the federal government can do in consideration of these concerns that the people are raising?
Okay, thank you. I'm shocked my colleague in the studio is saying that what's going to fight is inconsequential. What will not affect transportation, it will not affect this. Please, that's not true. We are talking about 5%. We are not talking about 2%. We are not talking about 3%. We're talking about 5%. And I think it's something that should not even have been thought of as it is now. You are taming inflation. You are seeing cost of goods and services coming down gradually. Then you want to hyperinflation. You want to bring back hyperinflation because Nigeria economy is a fuel economy, and like I always say, the fuel is the life wire of the Nigeria economy. So for me, I think most of this government policy are horribly put through. I am an advocate of the tax reform. Remember, I've said in your program that one of the best this administration have brought in, but this 5% tax on fuel, I mean, I think is coming at a very critical time. We have not even gotten stability in the economy yet, and you shouldn't forget that this 5% tax on petroleum product was first of all would have been introduced by President Olusegun Obasanjo during his time as president. And I remember the then Labour leader, who is now a senator, 2 times governor, Adam Oshomole, kicked against it. And then even then President Tinubu was a governor that time, he kicked against it. So I don't know what has changed now, whether things have gotten better now or things are even worse. So for me, it's a no-no. What's the middle ground? There's no middle ground. Just suspend it for now. I'm happy the chairman of the tax implementation committee, Taiwo Yediri.
But will there ever be a good time to, not to sound like I'm speaking on both sides, but will there ever be a good time to implement these changes? Because take our minds back again to the fuel subsidy removal. Everybody was against it, even though there's still arguments about the validity of the move even today. It was an action that was necessary. Same thing that is being talked about, this tax. When will be a good time for the implementation of this 5% tax, if it is going to benefit the people? That's another question, though.
The good time is always when you have stability in your economy. Not now that you are still battling with a lot of instability, a lot of macroeconomic indices. Don't forget that we are seeing a government that is trying to deal with taxes, but we've not seen the state government. The state government are still handling levies. They are still thinking of levies. They are not on the same page with the federal government when it comes to taxes, because state government feel better that they can get more levies from the citizens than even taxes. So you are seeing a tax law that a lot of people are still trying to digest, to see that Nigerians will be paying more tax. And when you look at what they are saying, Felicita, it's shocking, because again, you are talking about a tax to maintain the routes, and then you are also talking about towing the route. I don't understand. Is it that you still collect taxes to maintain the road? You still have tolls on this route? It doesn't add up. I don't think it has even. Let me give you an instance. When I say there are better times to do, the United States of America, as it stands today, are not collecting fuel taxes. They've suspended it in the state of Houston, Texas, because of the microeconomic issue that they are facing. So when you look at your microeconomic issues, then you should look at it critically before bringing up policy like this that will have effect not just on the ordinary Nigeria, but all Nigerians. And then you know what, when that happened, they pass those taxes to the ordinary Nigerian, and sometimes very burdensome on them.
All right, Mr. Nakare, Given that the tax implementation is set to begin January 1, 2026, I mean, we have to prepare for it, whether we like it or not, if the government refuses to reconsider. So what measures do you think that the federal government can take to mitigate potential backlash and economic disruption during the transition period? Because that is most likely, right, for such an implementation.
Oh, thank you for the question. Let us review this situation holistically now. So when we talk about helping the people, a lot of things is the cost of living. So what are the things that contribute to the cost of living? Right? If you talk about high cost of transportation and logistics, what contributes to it? The cost of maintenance of those vehicles is a huge part of what contributes to the high cost of transportation. Now, if you have a position that can reduce the cost of maintenance of vehicles in terms of road damages and the impact of bad infrastructure on those particular facilities, then how does that work against the people? It does not make sense, because if you just look at the numbers, if you say we have 11.8 million cars, right, registered as of 2018 in Nigeria, right, and on average, we're talking about what's our consumption, on average, and we say, okay, let's even peg it at 100 million, right? That we do 100 million before, or let's say we do 50 million, we do 10 million. Let's even put at 10 million. 10 million times 118 million. We're talking about.
Mr. Nakare, we're really time pressed. I don't know if you can just respond to the question in 30 seconds.
What I'm getting at is, right, rather than creating an issue and drama around this, we should embrace the fact and look at positioning ourselves as a people that the voice is implementation. Okay, so these taxes are supposed to be removed for road maintenance and all that. Let us see how it is in work.
All right, let's get in Mr. Mokhtar's thoughts. Let's get in Mr. Mokhtar's thoughts in 30 seconds as well, sir.
I thought it's still the same thing. It is like they said, it is wickedness at this point in time for you to introduce such a policy after the removal of subsidy. We are still grappling with the effect of the removal of subsidy. For me, it's like subsidy through the back door.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here.
No.
Still ahead tonight, Ethiopia defies its neighbors' concerns, inaugurates Africa's largest hydro dam. We'll tell you about this when we come back. Stay with us. Shortly before the strike by the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, was suspended on Tuesday, motorists in Abia State capital, Umuahia, had a tough time sourcing fuel from filling stations. This was due to the closure of most of them, leaving commuters stranded. Residents bemoaned the discomforting situation.
Nowhere to take it to. Mechanic. So this morning, when I open here, the no hope, and I'm not about high purchase. So because government money has metro and because
we have been here, we are struggling to get fuel. There's no way to go. My place is parked somewhere now. I cannot get to my house. I'm just stranded.
I've been here since 3 hours now. But no way. So I'm shocked. I'm still waiting. If they can open the place, I can buy. I don't even have fuel to use and go home. Now it's affecting me. Go generator, go car, because you don't have light. Now the fuel we always even use now. No way again to even buy it. So I don't know what they want us to do. The government is just messing with us individuals. Seriously, I don't even know what to do again.
Away from our shores, Ethiopia has officially inaugurated the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, marking a major milestone for Africa's largest hydroelectric power project. A $5 billion dam built on the Blue Nile near the Sudanese border is expected to generate over 5,000 megawatts of electricity, more than doubling Ethiopia's current capacity. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed hailed the project as a symbol of national pride and economic progress. However, Ethiopia's downstream neighbors, Egypt and Sudan, have voiced serious concerns. Egypt, which relies on Nile for 90% of its fresh water, has warned the dam threatens its water security and regional stability. Sudan has also expressed apprehension while welcoming potential benefits like flood management. And one of our headline stories tonight, Nepali protesters have stormed government buildings and set fires near Parliament, forcing veteran Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli to resign. His resignation comes just a day after one of the deadliest crackdowns in years, which left at least 19 people dead. The unrest erupted Monday over a controversial social media ban and long-standing anger over corruption. Although the ban was lifted, demonstrations reignited with even greater force. Meanwhile, the UN rights chief has voiced alarm at the escalating violence in Nepal and has called for dialogue. And in Brazil, the Supreme Court has commenced deliberations on the fate of former President Jair Bolsonaro, who stands accused of plotting a coup to cling to power following his 2022 election defeat. A panel of 5 justices began voting Tuesday in a trial that could seal Bolsonaro sentenced to more than 40 years behind bars if found guilty. Among the charges are leading an armed criminal organization, attempting to overthrow democracy, and vandalizing government property. Justice Alexandre de Moraes, who leads the panel, stated clearly that there was an attempted coup and criminal conspiracy. Tonight returns with business, sports, and entertainment. Do stay with us.
In business, Nigeria has avoided a potential multi-billion naira economic setback after the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, suspended its nationwide strike following a deal with a Dangote refinery. The strike, triggered by disputes over workers' right to unionize, had already halted fuel loading at depots nationwide. Analysts warn that a prolonged shutdown could have cost the economy over 15 billion naira daily through distribution delays, scarcity-driven inflation, and productivity losses. Government intervention was key in breaking the deadlock. With the suspension, supply chains are back on track, averting fuel scarcity and stabilizing downstream operations critical to businesses and households alike. We also tell you that the former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo has renewed his call for a single African currency, warning that dependence on the US dollar continues to undermine Africa's economies. Speaking at the Intra-African Trade Fair, IATF 2025 in Algiers, he decried the naira's collapse, recalling when 1 naira once exchanged for nearly $2 in 1979, compared to between 1,500 naira and 1,600 naira per dollar today. Obasanjo praised Afrexim's bank's Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which enables trade in local currencies, stressing Africa must reduce reliance on foreign money. He linked current challenges to slavery, colonialism, and globalization, urging leaders to embrace monetary independence to drive development. We now look at the equities markets. Now, the all-share index advanced again today by 0.29% to close at 139,796.11 points, while market capitalization rose to 88.45 trillion naira, driven by gains in key sectors that sustained market momentum. Now, looking at the sectoral performance, the banking sector, the index climbed 0.43% as renewed interest in Tier 1 lenders boosted activity. Insurance extended with a positive gain of 0.98%, reflecting speculative demand in low-cap stocks. Well, oil and gas slipped about 0.05%, but then it's an appreciable growth, I must say, as cautious trading persisted in energy majors. Consumer goods added 0.28% on the back of mild accumulation in food and beverage equities, while industrial goods posted the strongest performance of the day, 0.85%, supported by sustained buying interest in cement counters. And that's it on business. I am Lekon Onobanjo. We'll bring you sports news in a bit. So stay with us.
Hello and welcome to sports. Nigeria could only earn 1 point after a 1-1 draw away to South Africa in the race for the sole ticket from Group D in the African qualifiers for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. In a match played at the Free State Stadium in Bloemfontein, South Africa went ahead in the 25th minute when Super Eagles captain William Troost Ekong turned Mobao Nkota's cross into his own net. Nigeria responded just before halftime with Calvin Bassey finishing from close range after Fisayo Dele Bashiru's delivery. A raft of changes in the second half by both sides could not alter the scoreline, and the draw leaves South Africa firmly in control of Group C, 6 points clear at the summit, while Nigeria's qualification hopes hang by a thread. With just 2 matches remaining, the Super Eagles must beat Lesotho and Benin Republic in October and hope results elsewhere go their way, or they risk missing out on a second consecutive FIFA World Cup. To handball now, Nigeria will head to the 2025 Africa Women's Youth Handball Championships in Oran, Algeria, with just 14 players, the minimum number permitted by the competition. The reduced squad is a result of financial constraints, which prevented the Handball Federation from naming the usual 16 to 18 players for the tournament. Preparations began at Roe Park, Lagos, with 30 players invited before the list was trimmed to 19, and another 5 players were now dropped to make the 14. Bronze medalists in 2023, Nigeria will compete in Group A alongside Angola, Tunisia, Kenya, Benin Republic and Madagascar. The tournament, which holds from the 14th to the 21st of September, also serves as qualifiers for the 2026 Youth World Cup. To England now, and Nottingham Forest have appointed Ange Postecoglou as their manager following the dismissal of Nuno Espirito Santo. The former Tottenham manager joins after winning the Europa League with Tottenham Hotspurs last season before being sacked and replaced by Thomas Frank in June. Forest owner Evangelinos Marinakis described Postecoglou as a proven winner with a vision to guide the club towards competing with Europe's elite. After promotion and steady progress in recent years, Forest now aim to push for trophies under their new boss. Postecoglou's first match will be against Arsenal on the 13th of September, followed by their Europa League opener against Real Betis later this month. And still in the Premier League clubs are demanding clarity after Manchester City settled their legal dispute with the league over associated party transaction rules. Now, the regulations introduced in 2021 aim to prevent inflated sponsorship deals with companies linked to club owners, and City had challenged the rules as unlawful, but have now accepted that they are, I quote, valid and binding, ending legal proceedings. Rival clubs, however, remain in the dark about the settlement's terms and possible concessions. Concerns also linger over reports City are close to securing a new deal with Etihad Airways, previously blocked under APT rules, while officials insist all state-linked sponsorships will still undergo fair market value tests. Clubs expect more details at the next shareholders meeting. And finally, in Spain, defending La Liga champions Barcelona will face Valencia on Sunday at the Johan Cruyff Stadium, with the Spotify Camp Nou still awaiting permits to reopen amid its €1.5 billion rebuild. The champions had hoped to return to their home ground before a reduced crowd, but delays in construction and licensing have forced another temporary move. The Johan Cruyff Stadium, which seats around 6,000 fans, is usually home to Barca's women's side and will host the fixture after the Olympic Stadium at Montjuic was booked for a concert by American rapper Post Malone. Camp Nou closed in 2023 and is scheduled for partial reopening later in 2025, with full completion expected in 2026. Fans await the longer-anticipated return to their iconic ground. And that's all we have on sports tonight. Entertainment is up next with Sam Dandy.
Let's get what is happening in the entertainment world. Sam Dandy's here.
So much is happening, but this one is a surprise. Nigerian singer Okafor Victor, popularly known as Mr. Real, stirred a wave of concern online after sharing a deeply emotional video on his Instagram, wearing a sorrowful expression, crying online, accompanied by a broken heart caption. The clip led fans to flood social media with reactions, ranging from sympathetic messages to light-hearted jests, some highlighting depression as a possible reason, but most asking what the issue could possibly be. Now, it's a shocking, vulnerable moment for the 29-year-old star, known for his breakout street hit, Legbegbe, back in 2017, a rare glimpse into personal struggles behind the performer's public persona. Now, while we're yet to get details, it's not the first case of celebrities crying on socials. While some have met with sympathy, others are, well, criticized, especially where the outcries were publicity stunts. Now, I feel like there are a few celebrities, of course, who have. YJ at some point cried, of course, business wasn't going too well. Tiwa unfortunately has, and the list is endless. So I'm hoping we get some info about this one.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, if we know the reason, then we'll know whether it's sympathy or skepticism. But at the heart of it, I want people to always remember that these celebrity, yes, but they're human first.
That's right.
So they're also vulnerable to all the idiosyncrasies that we go through as normal people.
Well, mental health is important, so we do hope that
he
does get, honestly, that sorted out. Let's move out of Africa. Broadway's revival of cabaret has been cut short following Billy Porter's withdrawal due to a severe case of sepsis, a life-threatening infection. Although the Broadway show was originally slated to run until October the 19th, it now officially closes on September 21st, 2025. Now, Porter's doctors expect a full recovery, but advise him to rest. In his absence, there will be alternates to rotate his role as MC, but producers and fans of the American actor and singer applauded Billy Porter's magnetic portrayal and expressed hope to reunite with him on stage again soon. Now, sepsis is a serious condition in which the body responds improperly to an infection. Now, the infection fighting process turns on the body, causing organs to work poorly. Fans are pouring messages wishing the multi-award-winning 55-year-old star a restful recovery as infection affects his busy schedule. Well, that one's also some sad news. We do hope, for a speedy recovery. But in cases like this, when the doctor says rest, please rest. Body no be firewood, as they say.
Take your rest, guys.
Take your rest.
All right.
Well, those are the biggest stories in entertainment. I am Sam Dandy.
And that's the news tonight. But before we go, a quick reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu has ordered review of ongoing military operations to eliminate terrorist groups across the country. The federal government targets January 1, 2026 for implementation of new tax reform laws. We also told you that Nepal Prime Minister has resigned as demonstrators touch parliament amid violent protests sparked by alleged corruption and inequality. As always, your feedback is important. Please share them using the numbers showing now on your screen. Would love a follow from you on social media platforms at News Central TV. You can get in touch, watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for your kind company. Have a good night.